So not so long ago I broke up with a girlfriend of 2.5 years, and for the past couple of months or so I've been single, living alone. And I think it's pretty common to experience like a low-key relief when it all ends. You've got lots of spare time on your hands now. I could finally start this YouTube channel, for example, something I wanted to do for a while but just didn't have time. And recording voiceovers when you live with someone else is obviously not very convenient. I'm also sleeping much better. I don't like sharing bed. I'd say I have less stress in my life in general. I don't need to listen to all the work stories or friend stories that, let's be honest, very few men would care about. And I think a lot of men are familiar with the cycle where you break up, you're kinda relieved, you're excited to be single again, and then after a few months you start craving that woman's attention once more. And so I'm kinda entering that phase now, but this time it's a bit different. Having gone through a number of relationships throughout the last 15 years or so, I'm starting to wonder whether it's even worth it, to be honest. And looking at what's being posted on this topic and through talking to my friends, I believe it's becoming more and more common to feel that way. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and today I decided to just sit down and really ask myself whether having a girlfriend is even worth it for me personally. So, of course, everyone's situation is going to be different. There are plenty of people who are in happy relationships, but just looking at the statistics and from personal, anecdotal experience, I think it's safe to say that these cases are quite rare. And I'd like to be realistic. Obviously, everyone dreams of that one ideal partner who fits you perfectly and you live in harmony, and communication and understanding are perfect. You've got common interests, you find each other incredibly attractive, and none of that changes over time. And I personally know a few people who are in relationships like this, and I can safely say that these are some of the happiest people I've ever met. But as I said, I would like to be realistic, and having dated a number of girls throughout my entire life and still being single at the end of it all, it's becoming harder and harder to remain positive. Of course, I'm still young. I'm only approaching 30, but despite of what everyone says, like, oh, men hit their prime in mid-30s and stuff, I personally don't feel that way. I've been doing sports my entire life, my diet is pretty good, my career prospects are very good, but despite all of that I feel more tired than ever, and most of the time I just want to be left alone. So time is definitely a concern here, and at the moment it feels like I don't have too much time left. And I'm sure you've all seen comments saying something along the lines of, I met my partner in my 50s, it's never too late. And although that's certainly true, I'm not sure how I personally feel about the idea of spending most of your life on your best years either single or going from a relationship to a relationship that doesn't work out. I just don't think I've got much energy and patience left for it. And something that a lot of men don't do, and I am guilty of that myself, is having girls in your life that are just friends. And I've had an odd one here or there, but I think it's one thing that I should probably focus on more. We all know it's hard not to develop feelings for a girl friend, but I'm starting to believe that relationships of that type, where you can get empathy and that feminine energy in your life without actually being romantically involved, might be not a solution, but definitely like a stepping stone of feeling better while being alone. And I say that because at the moment I've got a friend who is a girl, and the type of friendship you develop is quite different to the kind of friendship men normally have amongst themselves. There is normally some kind of competition involved. A lot of men often need to prove that they are the best. It's very rare to have that kind of empathy that realistically every person needs in their life. And I think that's one of the top reasons why men crave romantic relationships more than women. And all my long-term relationships follow the same formula, where for the first 6 months you are feeling better than ever, and then it's a year of pretty smooth sailing, and then after that it kinda starts slowly dying out. In Russian we've got a popular phrase that goes, love lives 2 years, and I think for most relationships it's certainly true, at least for mine. That's not to say that I will never try again, I certainly will, it's just something we do, humans crave companionship, but I will also try to become friends with girls, something that I definitely didn't do as much in the past. And as a result, I'm expecting not to be as desperate when it comes to entering a new relationship, because let me tell you, some of them I just jumped in because I was done being alone. because all I had was male friends that didn't fulfill a lot of the needs. And being friends with girls for sure does not fulfill everything either, but I think it takes care of a lot and doesn't make you as desperate or blind. And so, is having a girlfriend overrated? In a way, in most cases, I think it is. I certainly had a lot of great moments with my exes, I learned a lot, and I'd like to believe that although ended, these relationships made me a better person. I also think that going through a relationship gives you experience to make the next one better. But at the end of the day, I feel like I could gain much of that experience without committing myself to romantic relationships and instead just being friends with girls more often than I did. That obviously in itself isn't easy. We all know how common it is to develop feelings for your girl friends, but stakes are still way lower. All romantic stuff aside, you're not expected to live together, to be taller, to have goals, to be better off financially, all the good stuff. Something that in 2025 many will pretend doesn't matter, but let's be real, it still does. And finding friends, although is still difficult, it's miles easier than finding a partner. And honestly, when I sit down and think about it, yeah, having sex is obviously great, but what I crave more is someone I can talk to who isn't a man. Because as I said before, you can't really open up a lot of the time. It's hard to be vulnerable without a man. And at the end of the day, even just things like hugs, there have been many studies done on how beneficial they are for mental and even physical health, and let's be real, you're just not gonna hug your bro that much. Like, you can maybe do a bro hug, when you shake hands, pull them in and pat them on the back, but you wouldn't really hug them properly or cuddle. So yeah, I realized that a lot of what I've been craving in a romantic relationship, I can just get by being friends with girls. And I wouldn't call it a strategy going forward, but it's something that I will be way more open to from now on. Because in the past, I wouldn't even consider talking to someone of opposite sex whom I don't want to potentially date. And it definitely sounds weird when I say it out loud, but I think it describes men as a whole quite well. And if you don't have any friends of the opposite sex, I know it's hard, but be a bit more open-minded to that idea, and who knows, maybe it will help you as well. Do with this information what you will. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.